actually just its coordinates. As we mentioned before, each column is called a file, and each row is called a rank. Every file in chess is given a letter, starting with the letter A on the left side of the board and going all the way to the letter H on the right. Every rank is given a number, starting with 1 on the white side of the board and going up to the number 8 on the black side of the board. Each square is named by its coordinate pair. Let's meet some of the squares. This square in the lower left-hand corner is known as A1. Notice we identify it with the letter first and the number second. Let's take a look and see where the E file meets with the fourth rank. Notice the arrows point at E4, so this square is known as E4. Let's draw a diagonal starting from A1 and go all the way up the board. Notice we land on the H8 square, and in between these squares we see B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, and G7. Together, this is known as the A1 to H8 diagonal, because the diagonal begins on A1 and ends on H8. Now that you've learned how to label each square on the chessboard, it's time to learn the notation of actual chess moves. Each piece has its own letter for chess notation. In this example, the king's letter is a capital K. With white to move, let's say the king is going to move to the E2 square. The way we describe that move is by saying the piece's letter first, which is capital K, then the square it moves to, E2. Remember, a piece always begins with a capital letter, and the square is always lowercase. So after the move, King E2, putting it all together, we say K, E2. Let's say black wants to play King to D7. In this case, it's the same idea. Capital K, lowercase D7. So piece, then square. K, D7. We will use the same idea for all the other pieces. The rook is a capital R, the queen, a capital Q, the bishop, a capital B. The knight, however, is a little bit different. Since the capital K is already used for the king, we use a capital N for the knight. For example, N, E6. Finally, you may think that pawns are a capital P. In this case, pawns are only written as the square that they move to. For example, after the move E4, the notation is simply the square the pawn moved to, E4. Now that you've learned the language of chess, it's your turn to practice using chess notation.
Sabi niya dito, white wants to march a pawn up to the board, play A5. Advance A4 pawn to A5. O, hanapin mo daw yung A4 pawn, tapos ipupush mo siya sa A5. Yun, sabi dito, correct. O, next. Okay, sabi niya, white wants to attack black B pawn on B7. Invade the 7th rank with D7. So, hint, move a white rook on D7 where it can attack the B7 pawn. O, sabi niya, hanapin mo daw yung rook na pupunta sa rook D7. Hanapin mo yung rook na pupunta sa D7 square. Yun, correct. Next. White wants to cut the black king off from F file, from F2. Hint, move white rook to F2 square. Correct. Next. White can move 2 piece on D8. Play Queen D8. Oh. Ipi-play mo daw yung queen sa D8 square. Alright. Next. White can move 2 knights on E4. Oh. Yung dalawang kabayo daw pwedeng pumunta sa E4. Ito ang tanong niya. play knight G, E4. Yung knight daw na nasa G, pupunta sa E4. E4 baby. Op, mali. Try again. Sabi niya, yung knight na nasa G, hanapin mo yung knight na nakalinya sa G. Oh, yung knight, kabayo, na nasa G. Pupunta siya sa E4. Hanapin mo yung E4 square. Yun. Great job. 1 out of 12 lesson. Okay, next lesson.
You've already learned how to move the pieces, and we've mentioned the idea of capture. Let's talk more about capturing. In chess, when you capture a piece, you simply move your own piece to the same square as your opponent's piece, and replace their piece with your own. The captured piece is then removed from the board. You don't stop before the captured piece. You replace it entirely. Let's watch this queen capture a pawn. Now, let's watch this knight jump over one of its own pieces to capture the queen. Capturing pieces is a critical part of the game. However, you do not have to capture a piece if you don't want to. That being said, if you can capture more of your opponent's pieces than they capture of yours, it's going to be much easier to win. One question about capturing that we haven't answered is, how do you notate a capture? Let's say in this position that you plan on taking the black queen with your queen on b3. A good idea. You would write the piece that will capture, in this case, the queen. So we use a capital Q. You then write an X, which means captures. And then you write the square where the piece gets captured. So after queen takes e6, we would write Q, X, e6. Here is one more capturing question. How do we notate a pawn capturing a rook and promoting to a queen at the same time? Does it sound complicated? Don't worry, it's just one extra step. We start by notating the capture. Remember, we mark a pawn with the file that it is currently on. In this case, the pawn is on the B file. So we would write a lowercase b, then we would write captures, which is an X, so lowercase b, X, and then the square that we captured, A8. So BX, A8. So far, we have BX, A8. Since we are promoting to a queen, you simply add to the end of your move an equal sign, and then write which piece you are promoting the pawn into, which is usually the queen. So putting it all together, we would write B takes A8 equals queen. Now it's your turn to practice capturing pieces.
Okay, start. O sabi niya, white might queen is fighting against an army of black piece. Can you find the capture for white? So, ano ba yung pwedeng kainin ng white sa position na yan? Ikaw yung white. Sino sa mga black piece yung pwede mong i-capture? Good job. Next. White is down a queen for 2 pawns. Not so good. Can you find a capture that can turn the game around for white? So, lugi daw ang white sa posisyon na yan. Pero sa isang tira, babaliktad daw yung laban, ikaw yung lalamang. Anong gagawin mo? Ano yung gagawin mo? Ikaw ang white dyan. Yan. Sige, paano mag-capture ng piece? Sino yung ka-capture mo? Oo, yung capture means kain yun. O, sino yung kakainin na pyesa o ika-capture? O, yan lang naman. Wala nang iba, di ba? O, sige. Hindi, white ka po. Ano ipapang-capture mo para ma-capture mo yan? Yung gagamitin mong piece. Ilan po yung piyesa mo? Ikaw po ang white. Yun. Okay, next. Sabi niya, white to move, black is up a knight. When all of white pawns are black, so they can't move forward. Can you find a pawn that can capture a piece? Remember, pawn can move forward but capture diagonally. Oh. Ano daw piyesa dyan ang pwedeng kainin ng pawn mo? Alright, next. So, black bishop is threatened to capture white rooks on a1. The rook is blocked by its other piece and they can't move. Can you find a way to save the trap rook? Okay, mayroon daw tayong na-trap na rook. Nasaan kaya? Hanapin mo yung na-trap na rook. Ano daw yung para... Yan, na-trap yan. Tama. Ngayon, paano daw masave yan? Paano makakaligtas yan? Anong gagawin mo? Yun, magaling. Next. So, sabi niya dito, in this position, white has several captures but only one of them is good. Can you find white best move to capture? Oh, ano daw yung pinakatamang gawin ng white na ka-captured siya ng pyesa? Dalawa yung option mo na kumain. Pero ano yung mas tama? Mali po yan. Kasi makakain ka ng rook. Kasi may depende siya ng rook. Anong gagawin mo ngayon? Mali po yan. Hindi po queen ang pangkain. Try ka ng iba. Nagkamali tuloy. Balik mo. Retry. Sige, tira ulit ng iba. Yan, king. Try mo naman yung king. Mali daw yung queen eh. Yun. Great job pa din. So, nasa 1 of 12 lessons tayo.
Okay.
Next lesson.
Check is the word that is used when one piece is threatening to capture the other side's king. Check basically means, look out, king in danger. Let's take a look at some examples of playing check. In this position, can you see how white can threaten to capture the black king? That's right. Bishop to f6 check. White's bishop puts the black king in danger of capture, so black must deal with this check. In the next lesson, we will learn the 3 ways to get out of check. In this position, black's rook can put white's king into danger. After rook d1, the white king is in check, and white must respond to this attack. Finally, in this position, black's pawn is ready to capture the white knight. Remember, pawns capture 1 square away diagonally. Can you see how white can escape the pawn's attack and place the black king into check? If you found knight to g6, great job. The knight escapes danger and now puts the black king into check. One final question is, how do we notate a check? It is pretty easy. All you do is add a plus to the end of your typical move notation. This means after writing ng6, you add a plus at the end. So it'll look like this, ng6 plus, meaning that black is in check. Now, it's your turn to practice playing check.
Okay, ikaw naman daw ang mag-check. So, sa position na yan, saan ka makakapag-check? Paano mo mag-check yung king? Yun lang naman ang assignment niya. Yung, nice. Hanapin mo ng check. Saan ba may check? Correct? Ayan. Up. Pwede doon mag-check kaso nga lang makakain. Check mo siya ng knight dun sa walang kain. Yun. Yun. Hindi na kailangan basahin. Alam na ni Ronamae. Oh, hanap ng piyesa na makaka-check sa king. Yun. Oh, great job ulit.
Next lesson.
Next lesson, konti na lang, mahaba pa
As
to.
we learned in the last lesson, when the king is in check, it must get out of check. You cannot ignore check and play another move you want to play while leaving your king in check. You have to stop the check. Luckily, you have 3 easy ways to get out of check. The simplest way to get out of check is to move your king to a square where it is no longer in check, like this. Another way to get out of check is to block the check with one of your other pieces. Oftentimes, the best way to get out of check is by capturing the checkered piece. Now let's see you escape check.
Okay. Ang ano niya lang, tinuturo, mag-i-escape ng check. So, start.
Kakain may check.
Ayan, naka-check ka. Yung king mo naka-check. Paano daw iiwas sa check yung king mo? White ka dyan. Saan pupunta yung king mo? Naka-check ka. Yun. O yan, naka-check ka ulit. Anong gagawin mo? Ano daw yung tatlong paraan ng pag-iwas? Pwedeng umiwas, pwedeng kumain, at pwedeng mag-block. Sa pagkakataon na yan, anong gagawin mo? Grabe talaga. Wala na si Kuya Richie. Bubugbugin na ni Ronamae ito sa susunod. Oh, naka-check ka. Ano namang gagamitin dyan? Iiwas, kakain, o magko-cover? Yun. Isipin mo, naka-check ulit yung king mo. Iiwas, kakain, magko-cover. Grabe yun, nakita niya yun, ang lupit. No, naka-check. Iiwas, kakain, cover. Op! Pwede sana yan. Tama yan, kabayo. Kaso nga lang, mali yung paglalapagan mo. Hindi dapat paatras. Yan. Okay, great job. Ano, napapagod na ba si Ronamae?
And it cannot escape
Sige.
check by moving, blocking, or capturing. Then the king is said to be in checkmate. That means you win. Or maybe your opponent won. Again, checkmate is the entire goal of chess. It doesn't matter who has captured the most pieces, or how long it has taken, or anything else. If the king is in checkmate, it's game over. Once the king is in checkmate, you don't have to take the king off the board. It's time to shake hands and say, good game. Now it's your turn to checkmate.
Okay, your turn daw, Ronamae. Start challenge. Oh, paano mo siya i-checkmate? Grabe. Saan mo siya ma-check? Isipin. Op, mali. Mali po yan. Checkmate eh. Kasi kakainin lang ng rook yan. Hanap pa ng iba. Yang knight. Saan may check? Yun, ang galing. Next. Oh. Anong piece ang makakapag-checkmate? Nice. Op. Mali yan. Hindi yan mag-checkmate dyan. Isang move lang, checkmate. Balik mo muna dun sa square niya para di ka magkamali. Oh. Isang tira lang. One move lang, mate. Mali. Yung rook na yun kanina ay nasa block. Saan mo siya ilalagay? Na machi-check mo siya. Bukod dun sa isa mong naisip kanina. Tama yung naisip mo kanina, kaso nga lang hindi checkmate. Saan pa makaka-check bukod doon? Hop. Hindi pwede. Walang check dyan. Isipin mo yung may check. Baka mabitawan mo yan. Magkakamali ka dyan. Tignan mo yung D1. Diba nag-check ka dyan kanina? Mali yan. Pero check. Hanap ka pa ng ibang square na ma-check mo siya. Yun. Hanap ka ng check para ma-checkmate. Op, mali po yan kasi gagalaw yung king. Yung queen ang gamitin. Oh, saan yan pupunta dapat na may check na hindi na makakalabas? Yun. O, tingnan mo. Perfect. Good job. Next lesson, pagod na.
More.
More
Chess
pa.
can often be a long game with more than 100 moves played, but it can also be incredibly short if you want it to be. Many people want to know, what are the fastest checkmates? And we are going to show you, but keep in mind, none of these checkmates can be forced. These are only checkmates that you literally have to try to do on purpose, because they can be otherwise defended very easily. Let's see the shortest possible checkmate on the board. White plays f3, not a great opening move, already exposing the king on the e1 to h4 diagonal. Black opens with e5. Notice the black queen is already looking at the weakened h4 square, ready to pay the white king a visit. White plays g4, further weakening the e1 to h4 diagonal, and the black queen pounces on the h4 square, delivering the fastest checkmate in chess. Notice that the white king cannot move, there's no way to block the check, and you can't capture the checking piece, so after 2 moves, the game is already over. In fact, it's time to start a new game. Let's see that idea again, but this time it will be white delivering the checkmate. After e4, black plays f6, d4, g5. Can you spot the checkmate? That's right, queen h5.
What are you doing at
The
30?
fastest checkmate for white is in 3 moves, and the fastest checkmate for black is in just 2 moves. Let's hope you never find yourself on the wrong side of this checkmate. Now it's your turn to practice the fastest checkmates.
Okay. Your turn na daw. Start. Hanapin daw yung fastest checkmate. Okay. Abong galing ah. Hi Ate Sky. Alright.
Hi, that's my friend.
Oh. Say hello muna Ate Sky.
Hello. Hello.
You know. Alright.
Right on the bed. I want to play on the bed. Where's your dad's husband?
Okay, black's turn ka, baby. So, black to play. Saan siya machi-checkmate? Katulad lang din kanina yan. Okay, nice. Okay, nasan ang black ka ngayon? Nasan ang di, white ka ngayon, white. Ano daw, ito naman kakaiba yung turo niya. Sabi niya dito, can you find white worst move that allow a checkmate on the next turn? O ano daw yung maling tira dyan ng white? Oo, kaya siya machi-checkmate. F, G, 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 G po, G. Hindi naman natin siya gagawin sa totoong laban, pero ano siya? Task kasi siya. So, G4, baby. Hanapin mo yung pawn sa G2, pupunta ng G4. Gawin lang natin yung task. Pawn G4. Hanapin mo yung pawn na pupunta sa G4. Op, mali po yan. Hanapin mo muna yung G. Letter G na square. Yun. Tapos, yan. Yan. Yun. Next. Okay. So, katulad lang ulit nung kanina. F. F, baby, F. Ano daw yung pinakamaling tira dyan? F. Hanapin mo daw yung pinakamali. Kanina tinahanap pinakatama. Ngayon yung pinakamali naman. F6. F6 daw, baby. Yan. Yan. Yun. Great job. Ano, pagod na ba?
No.
No? O sige, continue hanggang matapos natin yung lesson.
There is another kind of mate on the board called stalemate. Stalemate is what happens when your king is not in check.
Chess lesson.
You also have no other legal move on the board. And when this happens, it's a draw, and nobody wins. You might be absolutely winning your game and about to checkmate your opponent's king, but if you fall into stalemate, it's a draw. This is best explained with some examples. In this position, with white to move, the game would be a stalemate, because white's only piece, the king, does not have any legal squares to move to, and white is not in check. In this position, let's say white plays queen to c2. The queen gets one square closer to the king, but notice black's king is not in check, and black does not have a legal move in this position. The position is a stalemate. Remember, in chess, you're never forced to make a legal move, so black cannot put the king onto a square where it would be captured. In this position, can you find a better move for white? White can actually win the game in just one move after queen b2 checkmate. Remember, your opponent can never be in stalemate if they are in check. In this position, black looks doomed. The king is trapped in the corner. White is ready to deliver checkmate on the next move, and black is down lots of material. However, chess is a game of many opportunities, and even when things look really bad, you might have the chance to save the game, or at least draw. Notice that since black's king does not have any legal moves, if black's queen disappeared from the board, it would be a stalemate if it were black to move. In this position, can you find a way to make black's queen disappear and create a stalemate? If you found queen takes h2 check, great job. White must deal with the check, and the only way to get out of the check is to capture the black queen. Now the only remaining piece is the black king, and since black's king does not have any legal squares, and black is not in check, the game is a stalemate. What a save by black. Let's take a look at this position. If white played the move queen to c7, it's not a very wise move, because white, first of all, could have won the game immediately, with queen to b7 checkmate, but also queen to c7 traps black's king. But does that mean it's a stalemate? Not in this position, because notice black has another piece. Black could play the move h3, allowing white to correct the mistake from the last move and deliver checkmate with queen to d7. Notice if we added another pawn, just this pawn on h3, the position would now be a stalemate with black to move. Now that you've learned about stalemate, remember to stay alert and avoid it when you're winning. And when you're losing, keep your eyes open for the opportunity to save the game with stalemate.
Paano daw makaka-stalemate? May gagalawan pa ba king mo, Ronamae? Wala na. So, kailangan mong maka-stalemate. Base sa tinuro niya kanina, paano ba makaka-stalemate dyan? Oh, wait lang, baby. Tingnan mo to. Pag ito ni right click ko, baby. Tingin ka dito, ha? Ito, di ba yung ano ba yan? Yan. Makakapaggawa ka ng arrow kapag ito ginawa mo, be, oh. Yan. Yan yung tamang tira dito, ha? Bakit? Kasi pag gumanyan, oh, wala nang pupuntahan yung king. Para maturo mo sa akin, ito gagawin mo, ito. Itong sa mouse. Ganunin mo nga. Oh, wala nang pupuntahan kasi pagka binak ko. Wait lang, ha? Baka natin. Tingnan mo, ha? Kasi ito, lapit ko yung mouse. Yan. Wala na siya lalabasan yung king. Kaya, ang ginawa, gumanon. Okay, next problem. O, ikaw na. Nag-sample na si kuya. Okay.
1A, 1 bigger.
O, ano daw gagawin ni white para maka-stalemate?
3A. Yes, stand up.
Good. O, ano pang gagawin? White to move. Ano daw gagawin mo? Para hindi siya maka-stalemate. Tama. Op, mali po yan. Queen, nakala ko queen ang dadamputin mo eh. Yan. Mali po yan. Kakainin mo po yung pawn kasi naka-check ka. Yan. Si Ate Sky ay busy naglalaro habang si Ronamae ay nag-aaral. Okay, tuloy lang ang buhay. So, white to play, paano natin masisave? O, anong gagawin ng queen para maka-stalemate tayo? Naiintindihan mo na ba yung stalemate? Ang stalemate ay ganito po. Halimbawa, pera muna ka, baby. Hindi po makakagalaw si king dito. Kasi merong queen. Ganyan po ang stalemate. Hindi siya makakagalaw dyan. Ang problema, si king makakapunta pa dito. Dapat mapupunta mo dito yung queen niya para maka-stalemate ka. Paano mo gagawin yun?
Tapos pamalo ka.
Yan, queen.
Hindi.
Queen, check. Tama, dun sa square.
Queen check, queen check. Hindi pa na.
Yan, saan check yan?
What are you doing?
Sige. Op, mali po yan.
Mali! Wrong.
Yun. Yan. Naka-stalemate na. O, anong gagawin mo para ma-avoid yung stalemate? Ka-capture o magko-cover?
We have some big rock.
Yan, ang galing naman ni Ronamae. Excellent. Nangalahati na tayo. 7 out of 12. Pagod ka na ba?
No?
Okay. Matatapos talaga natin to.
Another way is to simply agree to a draw. This might happen if neither player can see a way to victory. One person offers the draw, and the other can accept or decline. Another way to get a draw is if the exact same position is repeated 3 times. After 3 repetitions, either player can claim a draw when it is their turn to move. Or, if you're playing online, the draw will automatically be called after 5 repetitions. Another way to draw is if neither player has enough pieces to checkmate, like lone king versus lone king. You'll learn more about this later. Finally, you can also draw if 50 pairs of moves have been played on the board without any captures or pawning. This keeps you from dying of boredom as you and your opponent move your rooks back and forth forever. Now it's your turn to practice drawn positions.
Oh, paano daw makakadraw ha? Ronamae, start. Oo, start. Challenge. Hanapin daw natin yung draw. Yan. Magiging draw daw kapag ang natira na lang king at king. Paano magiging king at king na lang ang matitira? Anong gagawin mo? Yan, tama. Hindi.
Tama.
Baliktad po. White ka po.
Baliktad. Yung ginagamit ko yan. Tapos ko na pa.
White.
Panalo.
White to,
White the move.
oh, white to move. Oh, white to move ka, baby. White ka. Yun. Next. Okay. May libreng...
Right is down, up, down.
Sige, basahin mo. Basa. English speaking. Ayun o. White to move. Basa.
Right to move, right to move.
White is down. Basahin mo yung instruction.
Right is down, up, down.
Pawn.
Home.
Pawn.
And right king is on the not
Other side
the other side
of the board.
of
Com-
the board.
Oh,
Completely out of
action. The action. Ikaw naman kasi. Hindi mo tinatapos. O, ikaw na. Meron daw makakain dito. Pupush mo lang yan, baby. Yan. Next. So, hint. Find a check to force black to draw. O, hanap ka daw ng check. Paano mo daw ma-check yung, ano, yung king ng black. Saan mo siya ma-check?
This is Ronamae. After Ronamae. And this is me. Yes. And then this is me. Because I have to choose points first. So you choose the
Tapos, check daw. Endlessly check. Kailangan mo siya i-check ulit. Oo. Oo, yan. San, yan, dyan lang. Tapos, check ulit.
Come back here.
Next na ba? Okay, tapos na pala. Problem solved na. Okay, malapit nang matapos. So, queen, promote. Para, ano, yung pawn may po-promote mo yan. Kailangan mo i-promote yan. Yan, promote. O, tapos, kakapturein mo. Anong kakapturein mo dyan?
Ano mo
Ngek.
capturing mo?
White ka po. Yan. Next.
Okay, that's the last one.
Bishop takes. Yan. Ano ka daw? Ay, white to move ka pala. Oh. White ka dyan. Kakainin mo yung pawn. Yan. Great job. 8/12.
The usual rules of chess is called castling. This
O, castling. Malapit na tayo matapos.
can do two things at once. When you castle, your king moves toward the safety of the corner, and your rook comes toward the action in the middle. You literally are moving two pieces at once, but it counts as just one move. You can castle in either direction, left or right. In either case, your king moves over only two squares, and then the rook from that side is moved directly to the other side of the king. Like this. And here's another example. Let's say you're playing a
Binahin
game
na yung
right here
nagre-record.
on chess.com. Here are two ways you can make the castle move. The first option is to drag the king to the square where it will castle, and then the rook will automatically move. Like this.
Automatic daw gagalaw yung rook, baby.
Another option is to click the square the king is currently on. In this case, E8, and then the square where you will move the king, G8. So we click E8, followed by G8, and now we're castling. Castling is a great move with many benefits if it is used at the right time. However, there are a few conditions that may prevent you from castling.
O, may bang pe-prevent daw sa'yo.
Do not castle when you are in check.
O, bawal daw yan.
First deal with the check before trying to castle. Secondly, you cannot castle if your king would castle through a check, Or, after castling, your king would land into a check.
O, bawal daw kapag may check.
Next, you cannot castle if there are any pieces in between your king and your rook.
Baby,
It
wala
must
niyang
be
baby.
completely empty. In
Kita
this
yung ulo mo sa
position,
video.
both white and black have to move one piece before they're able to castle. After knight f3 and bishop c5, for example, both sides are now able to castle kingside.
So this is traps.
Finally, you cannot castle if your king has
I
made
can
any
show
other
you
move before,
space.
or if the rook you are castling with has already moved. It must be the first move for both pieces. In this position, the only legal castling move is for black. Since white's king has already moved, white cannot castle. Notice black
Pagka gumalaw na daw
castle
yung
with
king
rook
mo,
on
hindi
h8
na pwedeng
because the other
mag-castle.
rook has already moved.
Okay. We'll hunt instead.
What is the location of castling? It depends on if you castle kingside or queenside. In this position, let's say white castles kingside. The way you would write it is 0 dash.
Ayan, 0-0 kapag ka sa side ng king.
We would add one more zero.
Who has the number
it-
1? Who has the number
dash 0 dash 0.
0 dash 0 dash?
One way that can help you remember this
Why?
is notice on the king
Number
side
one.
there are two squares
Why?
between the
Why
white
did
king
Bella
and
using
the
her
rook.
cell phone?
Notice 0 dash 0 has two zeros. So king side castling,
Not
two squares,
chance.
two zeros.
So that's why I cannot give you a tip.
Notice on
That's
the
a
queen
chance.
side, there's three squares between the king
Again.
and the rook. Queen side castling
Roll,
has
roll,
three
roll,
zeros.
roll.
0 dash 0
Then.
dash 0.
Okay, so mag-start.
Now that you've learned this powerful move, it's time to practice castling.
O, castling na. Malapit na tayo matapos. Nasa castling na tayo. Castling daw, baby. Yun. Good job. Next. Castling. Paano magka-castling ka dyan? Yun. O, why to move? Magka-castling ba? O magko-cover?
Okay.
Pwede bang mag-castling kapag ka naka-check ang king? Hindi. Anong gagawin ni white? Mali yan. Masyadong malakas yan. Baka pwedeng may iba. Queen. Pawn. Yan. Pawn. Pawn tuloy. Hindi po pwede yan bumatras. Yung nasa C2. Yung nasa C2. C2 pupunta ng C3. Para makover. Yung. Next. Saan pwedeng mag-castling? Si white. Why to move? Anong gagawin mo para makapag-castling ka? Naka-check yung king. Tingnan mo yung C1 square. Merong bishop doon na naka-diagonal. Nakikita mo ba yung bishop? Ito yung bishop. Naka-diagonal siya doon. Hindi pwedeng mag-castling. Kailangan mo munang pigilan yun. Paano mo ibablock yung line ng bishop? I-block mo nga yung line ng bishop. Hindi po pwede yan kasi kakainin lang yan. Libre yan. Baka may iba pang paraan. Good job. Tapos, castling na. Castling na. Try again. Try again. Pindutin yung try again. Okay? Castling. Panis. 8/12. 9. Konti na lang. Natapos na. 41 minutes na kami. Grabe. Perfect, oh.
The last weird rule in chess is called en passant.
En passant.
In passing.
In
It
passing.
was introduced at the same time pawns were allowed to move two squares on their first move. When that happened, sometimes pawns would move past other pawns
Pakinggan
without
maigi
giving
yan,
the other
ha?
pawn an opportunity to capture, which didn't seem fair. So en passant was invented. Pay attention. It's tricky. If your opponent's pawn moves forward 2 squares, which it can only do if it is that pawn's first move, and it lands directly next to one of your pawns, then on your next turn, and that turn only, you have the opportunity to capture that pawn as if it had only moved 1 square. Like this.
Ganun daw yun,
Take a
ha.
look at that again.
Tandaan mo, ha.
If a pawn is moved forward 2 squares and lands next to another pawn, that pawn can capture the first pawn on its very next move. You move behind the pawn as if it had moved only 1 square and capture it, placing it off the board. You might get some weird looks if you do this move in a game with someone who doesn't know, but it's an important rule of chess. Now that you've learned en passant, let's have you try.
Try daw natin. Okay. White to move. Paano ka lalagpas? Ayan, nakablock yung pawn mo. Paano mo lalagpasan yan pawn na yan? Gagawin mo, kakain, di ba? Yan. Okay. Ano yan? Paano yan? Pawn move. Yan. Yun, nag-end passant. Yun! Grabe, marunong na mag-end passant. Yan ang magpapanalo sa'yo dyan. Kaso nga lang, sabi niya, move a pawn 2 squares forward. So, that cannot get captured by c4. Tama yan. Tama yung hawak mo. Ano daw yung pawn na pwede mong i-push ng 2 squares na hindi makakain ng c pawn ng black? Yan. Nice. Ano yung gagawin? Capture the black's rook with your pawn on d4. Kakainin mo daw yung rook ng black. Anong gamit? Pawn. Kakainin daw yung rook. Tapos pass pawn. En passant. Sino gagamitin mo? Yun, very good talaga. Malupit. White to move. Capture black queen with b4 pawn. Hanapin mo yung b4 pawn. Kakainin daw yung queen ng black. b4 pawn. Grabe. Tapos nag-end passant. Ano ba gagawin din? Wait lang. Mamamati ka. Queen X siguro. Kung ako titira dyan. Check lang siguro. Yan. Kahit na hindi na mag-end passant dyan, mati. Queen X pawn. Yan. So, excellent. 10 out of 12. Pagod na ba? Okay, tiyaga lang, matatapos na. Okay, kakainin. Ano daw gagamitin mo dyan? May free piece. Blunder ata ang ano niya yan. Find the right move. Yan, blunder ata yan. Skip mo eh. Yan, next. Okay, merong checkmate. Hanapin ang checkmate. Hanapin ang checkmate. One move, checkmate. White to move. Rook move. Yan. Next. Meron daw libreng piece. Free piece. Ano yung makakain ng libre? Tama. White ka. Ano yung libre niyang pyesa na walang bantay? Hanapin mo. Bishop. Sige, konting stamina lang baby. 47 minutes na tayo. Konti na lang. Matapos mo na yung task. Bishop B. Bishop sa B2. May target yan. Ano yung makakain ng bishop sa B2? Hanapin mo. Hanggang saan ba yung diagonal ng bishop? Hanapin mo muna yung bishop sa B2. Sige, ituro mo nga sa akin. Nasaan yung bishop sa B2? Yan, bishop sa B2. Mali po yan. Yan, kakain. 'Di ba? Yan ang diagonal, patagilid. Okay. Okay, next. Malapit na tayo matapos. Finding the right move to pala yan. Kunting tiyaga na lang, next. Okay. Hanapin ang best move. Ikaw ang white. Naka-check yung king mo. Saan ka pupunta? Pwede ba magharang ng pyesa? Anong pwedeng iharang para hindi ma-checkmate? Sige nga. Mali po. Kakainin lang po yan. Yun. Very good. Atakihin yung king gamit ang kabayo. Tama. Tapos checkmate. Mali po yan. Rook. Okay, perfect. 11 out of 12. Isa na lang, Ronamae.
How to play. But now it's time to see the ideas you have learned put into action in an actual game. In this game, we'll see how two pieces working together can be a powerful force, and that a king surrounded by pieces isn't always safe. Let's take a look. White begins the game with e4, controlling the center and opening up lines for the queen and light square bishop. Black plays c6, a move we haven't seen yet. The idea is to prepare the move d5 on the next turn and attack the strong pawn on e4. White plays d4, controlling more space in the center and also opening up the dark square bishop. Black strikes back in the center with d5, threatening to capture the pawn on e4 on the very next move. When the opponent threatens to take one of our pieces, it's natural to feel worried. Remember, it's okay to make even trades, such as a pawn for a pawn. What you don't want is to give away your pieces for nothing. In this situation, white could push the pawn forward with e5, white could capture the pawn on d5, or, as in the game, protect the pawn and develop a piece with knight to c3. After d takes e4, knight takes e4, white's knight captures the pawn and moves directly into the center.
Kita mo yung mga moves ha. Tandaan mo yan ha.
Developing a knight and also preparing the next move, knight
Para mamaya, yan din naman tatanong
the
niya.
idea that if the knight gets captured, black is ready to recapture the knight, like that.
Last na yun baby. Konting focus na lang.
As the light square bishop is long, and also notice black's king has no moves. We'll take a look and see if that becomes a problem. White plays bishop to c4, activating the bishop to a powerful diagonal, and as you know, pointing at the weakest point in black's camp, f7. Black plays knight g to f6, attacking white's knight, and white plays knight to g5, avoiding the knight's attack and joining the light square bishop in attacking f7 square. In this position, black should play e6, blocking the light square bishop's path to the f7 square. But black does not have a sense of danger in the position and plays h6.
Mali daw yung
attacking the
h6.
knight and assuming that it's going to move backwards. Can you find the move that immediately wins the game for white? That's right. Bishop takes f7. White delivers checkmate, threatening to capture the king on the next turn, and notice black's king is surrounded, or should we say smothered, by its own pieces. It cannot escape the attack. You've learned a lot so far. Can you put your ideas into action?
Oh.
Let's prove it in the challenges.
Ayan ha, gagamitin daw natin yan. 5 lang naman yung challenges na yan. Sige, start. Malapit na tayo matapos. Oh, E4 daw. Start ka daw by playing E4. Okay. Oh, playing D4. Ang sabi niya. Napin mo yung D4. Pawn D4. Oh, playing knight C3. Oh, next. Sige, next. Oh, playing knight C3. Oh, mali po yan. Knight C3. Okay. Capture daw, sabi niya. Capture mo yung pawn. Oh, paano i-capture yung pawn sa E4? Ano papangkain? Mali po yan. Mali po yan. Hanapin mo yung E4 square. Nasaan yung E4? D4 po yung tinuturo mo. Kabila. Yan. Knight X E4. Sige nga, hanapin mo. Knight X E4. Yan. Next. Anong ginawa niya kanina? Ititreat daw yung F7. Bishop. Yan. Saan? C. Saan niya nilagay kanina yan? Up, mali yan dyan. Yan. Bishop C4. Yan. Good job. Next. Oh. Saan niya pinatalon yung kabayo kanina? Kung naaalala mo yung tinuro niya. Saan daw dapat yan pupunta? Yung nasa knight E4, saan tatalon? Yan. Saan pupunta yan? Sa tinuro niya kanina. Knight. Hindi po kakain ha. Knight G5. Yan. Next. And then, last move. Checkmate. One move. Bishop. Move. Hindi yan. Yan. Yung white na yan. Bishop. Saan siya may check? Correct. Okay. Course complete. Oh. Tapos na po si Ronamae sa lesson ngayon. So, okay, tapos na po kami. Maraming salamat po. Ano man sabi mo, Ronamae? Alam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.